Hi everyone, I'm Lauren, a market manager at Pacific Coast Farmers Market Association, and today our team is heading to San Martin, California to visit Spade Plow Farm. Right now, they're growing greens, cauliflower, artichokes, and a whole bunch of other winter veggies. We're going to get an inside look at how these crops are planted, grown, harvested, and learn some cool facts along the way. We're excited to be here, and we're even more excited that you're able to join us. Let's get going!
My name is Sam Thorpe. I'm one of the co-owners at Spade Plow Organics. We're a 10-acre farm right here in San Martin, California. We grow on this 10 acres all certified organic vegetable row crops. I started with my brother Nick and my dad Mike. The three of us all have kind of lifelong experience in the ag industry and worked for a lot of kind of larger scale corporate farms and just kind of wanted a change of pace. So we started in 2015 on this property. 10 acres. In 2017, we added on a 30-acre property, which just this past year we actually lost, and now we're back on 10 acres. My dad, my brother, and myself, we've all only worked for certified organic farms in the past. It's something that we believe pretty strongly in, and we think it's not only where the market and the industry is heading, but it's just what we should be doing.
Spade Plow is a certified organic farm. You might hear that word a lot these days, but what exactly does organic mean? Growing organic means that the farmers do their best to foster the cycling of resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. Basically, organic farmers work in harmony with nature to grow delicious fruits and vegetables without having to add almost any chemicals or pesticides. Technically, organic is a legal term that tells a farmer what they can and cannot do when growing crops. For example, synthetic pesticides and genetically modified crops cannot be used on organic farms.
On our farm though, we don't spray any pesticides. We haven't sprayed any since the year one of our farm. And just through growing the biodiversity here and growing the soil health, we found that we don't really need it. It's an extra cost and it's something that we don't really want to participate in. We do a yearly compost application. We do all organic fertilizers. We practice a pretty strict crop rotation, so we're constantly making sure we're not planting the same commodity on the same block back to back. And then we also, we have bee boxes on site too to help with pollination, but also just encourage biodiversity too.
Wintertime means that days are short and cold, so there are fewer crops to harvest than there are during summer. But that doesn't mean the work stops. Some plants don't grow at all during winter, but there are certain plants that actually grow better during winter than they do in the summer. We visited Spade Plow in December, so instead of seeing crops like melons or peppers, we saw crops like cauliflower, broccoli, and leafy greens. Although the winter months can bring challenges, Spade Plow have adapted their growing methods so that Bay Area residents can enjoy farm-fresh produce year-round. Spade Plow uses their greenhouse to get some of the seedlings started so that the plants can be strong and healthy before they ever get in the soil. They cover more delicate crops in a thin cloth, which protects them from frost, seals in warmth, and protects them from birds and other pests. Finally, Spade Plow staggers their plantings so that they have fresh produce to bring to farmers markets every week.
We do a lot of baby greens here, especially on this property. We do a lot of arugula, baby mustard, baby spinach, baby salad mix, and a baby kale too. So that's a good item for us at all of our markets. And we bring them back to the shed and we wash them and bag them so that they're all ready to go for the customers at the farmers markets.
On a small farm like Spade Plow, they grow a wide variety of crops to meet their customers' needs. But today, we're going to focus on just a handful: baby greens, cauliflower, and artichokes. Baby greens are just that, babies. Spinach, kale, lettuce, and arugula are all edible before reaching maturity. Instead of waiting 45 to 60 days for the crops to ripen, baby greens are picked at 15 to 40 days. In general, baby greens are more tender, naturally bite-sized, and just as nutritious as fully ripe greens.
Colleen was just finished up, she's planting some baby spinach. So with our baby greens, we plant a little bit differently than like all of our other vegetables. So we have a couple different planters. We have just a vegetable seed planter where we can plant our carrots, our turnips, all of our crops that we do direct seed. And then our baby green planter is a little bit different. With our vegetable planter, we can plant 6 lines per bed, 5 lines per bed, and some of those can split up too. But with the baby greens planter, we can plant up to 30 lines per bed. So it allows us to grow really densely It allows us to have like more volume in that bed too. And then with it being so dense, the plant can grow more upright, so it's easier to harvest, and it helps kind of crowd out and shade out all the weeds that might be there as well. Yeah, we have our our salad mix here. There's 2 different plantings. These are a week apart. So with the baby greens, we're planting them every single week to have a consistent product every single week available to all of our customers. So because they grow so fast, a 1 week difference can make a really big difference in like leaf size, and it could mean like a double leaf size if it's a week different. So we're planting every single week to have consistency and availability there. For like our salad mix selection, we do 4 different varieties. So we do a red oak and a green oak, a red Lola Rosa, and a green Tango, and it gives us a pretty good mix. 4 varieties that we picked out after trialing a whole bunch last year, and found that these 4 were the best, and they perform the best, and they taste the best. So these are ones we've been growing for about the past year now. We harvest them separately, and then we mix them when we do the post-harvest and wash them at the package shed. Trying to kind of allocate this block to the items that are much quicker, that we can get a quicker turnover on. So all of our baby greens that are usually about 4 weeks to harvest. And then here too, we use a lot of what's called a remake cloth on these items, as you can see. This is cloth that goes over the bed. It's a permeable cloth, so we can water through it, and oxygen and water can get back and forth. It helps raise the soil temperature a few degrees. So it helps us get like a little bit better germination, usually a little bit faster too. And then also helps kind of protect from some of the pest issues that we sometimes see on especially crops like arugula and the mustard greens, bok choy, and the radishes and turnips too. This is another commodity that we're trying out for the first time this year. It's a purple sprouting broccoli, so it's a bunching broccoli. So that's another exciting one. We only did 1 planting. That's one that a couple chefs recommended that they were looking for, and they couldn't find it anywhere else. So we got on the schedule, ordered seed, and started planting it. And then over here we're growing broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower. This planting was planted in September. We just started harvesting on the cabbage, and broccoli will start this weekend too. We'll plant cabbage and cauliflower starting in July, all the way through February or March. So we start harvesting usually like in September, and then we'll harvest all the way through May. And it's something that we don't harvest in the summertime because we tend to see a lot of aphid issues and just heat issues with the heat, where they kind of get some discoloration. So we see that across like cabbage, cauliflower, all of our bunching greens like our chard and our kale and our collard greens. So those are very seasonal items, so a lot of those coming off the field right now. So a lot of our winter crops we do sprinkler irrigation. Typically most of the summer crops will do drip irrigation. So tomatoes and peppers and winter squash, summer squash will all be on drip irrigation. And we're oftentimes watering a lot less in the wintertime because 1, hopefully we get some rain. We haven't seen any rain yet, but also just cooler weather, lower daylight, less daylight, so there's less of a need for watering as much. It varies throughout the year. So like in the summertime, we'll be like 4 weeks in the greenhouse and then 4 weeks out in the field before harvest. In the wintertime, it's typically like 5 weeks in the greenhouse and then usually like 6 weeks outside in the field until harvest. So in the wintertime, things just take a lot longer, and that goes back to day length and then just the temperature too.
Cauliflower is one of the most nutritious plants on earth. It is in the same family as cabbage, broccoli, and kale. Plants can grow between 8 and 30 inches tall and only grows 1 cauliflower per plant. While white cauliflower is the most common, it can also be purple, orange, brown, or yellow. There's even a spiky green variety called Romanesco.
Yeah, so this is what we're harvesting now. This will be available for this weekend's markets, but it's also going to our CSA boxes this week. So we started harvesting yesterday, and we're going to continue this week. That's Romanesco. It's kind of a cool variety. We do the Romanesco, we do the traditional white cauliflower, and the purple cauliflower too. So this is like an item that tends to do really well at farmers market, but maybe not as well in the CSA program, because people can see it and see what it looks like and see how pretty it is. It kind of grabs your attention for sure too. Mm-hmm. And then we can look at the purple too. Cauliflower is kind of a weird one because There's always going to be a lot of variance in size out in the field. So I'm looking for ones that are going to be the right size and making sure that we're harvesting them before they get too big, because then they can kind of they'll start to spread out and they won't be super dense. As we start to get closer to harvest, we start looking at this 3 weeks ago and making sure that when we want to get in there, and there's kind of a sweet spot too. You don't want to get in there too soon, because then you're walking the whole field and maybe you're only getting like two totes. But then you don't want to get in there too late and have a whole bunch that are maybe oversized or past their prime. And that's where the planning schedule kind of comes in too. It'll help us look week by week and start what's supposed to be ready this week. These ones are always a little slower. The white tend to be the fastest one, and then the Romanesco tends to be like a little bit slower, and the purple's the slowest. So these are going to be really small, but I'll give you the kind of the comparison. You can see the purple leaves. Oh, really small. So that's where they're at right now. Just like a quarter size. But this time of year, like when they get to this point, when they make a head, they'll grow pretty quick. So one this size could probably be ready like in 2 weeks. It gives us some cauliflower to have every week, so we don't necessarily have to plant cauliflower every single week. So we might not have Romanesco every week, but we might have white or Romanesco or purple. So then it gives us a little bit more flexibility in our planting schedule.
Wow, that was a lot of information about a lot of different crops. Let's slow things down a bit and focus on just one: artichokes. Artichokes originate from the Mediterranean and are one of the oldest foods known to man. They also rank as the vegetable with the highest level of antioxidants. Artichokes are famously grown along the Monterey Bay coast in places like Castroville, but Spade & Plow has managed to grow this delicious vegetable in Santa Clara County. For more on this, let's talk to Mike Thorpe.
My name is Mike Thorpe. I farm with two of my sons at Spade Plow Organics in Santa Clara Valley here in San Martin, California. In this area, we've had luck transplanting them mid-June to mid-July. We've got to get seed to the greenhouse probably the end of March or April. So it's kind of a long process. This year we started harvesting one variety earlier than we ever had, I think the second week in November. And that was the earliest we'd ever started. So we're kind of figuring them out, and it'll slow down over Christmas just because of the cold weather, but we should be able to harvest them all the way till May. By the time you get seed procured, get them in the greenhouse, and get them up and growing and then harvested and done with them, they're a year-long crop. We try to get them grown in more of a coastal area, and we've had them grown in Castroville before, and we've had them grown in Watsonville. These came from Watsonville. We're trying to pick the best time of the year when it's cold. We can plant them in the heat and they seem to grow fine, but then they need the cold weather to produce fruit. We're harvesting that fruit, like I said, starting in, before Thanksgiving, all the way till May, hopefully, past Easter. But then it gets a little bit tough after that just because of temperatures. If it gets too cold, you'll get a lot of blistering, and there's a little bit here, but it doesn't really affect the taste of the heart itself. But it's just harder to sell because people look at it and it's not as pretty, I guess. Now, we really don't have a pest problem. On this particular ranch, one pest that we've kind of fought, not in the artichokes, but just rabbits, but it doesn't seem to bother the artichokes. I just think it's too coarse a material and they'll hide out in here, but we've never had any damage from rabbits. You want them when they're still kind of tight. So we're gonna actually start here this week, and might discard some of these, but we'll get a fair amount harvested. If you let them go too long, they'll just actually open up and have a bright purple flower. It really gets real tough and it's not edible.
Yep, you heard him right. The artichoke is a cousin of the sunflower, and the parts that we eat are actually the artichoke flower before it blooms. Unfortunately, they are also related to thistles, a spiky and dangerous weed. Those thorny petals that you peel as you eat an artichoke are meant to protect the flower as it matures, and they do a good job of scaring off potential pests. The meaty center of an artichoke is called the heart, and even that is protected by what is called the choke, which must be removed before you can eat the rest. Artichokes are delicious and nutritious, but eat with caution. Let's get back to Mike, and he'll tell us more about harvesting and growing artichokes.
We use a knife just to cut them, and then they go in a backpack. We've got a backpack that we carry, and then at the end of the row, we'll dump that backpack into a plastic container or bin, and then take it to the processing, area and get it, get it into a box. We're usually prepping as far as harvest in the field Monday, Tuesday for CSA portion, and then for the market portion, we'll get started usually by Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday's a big day. These are all on drip now, but as soon as we transplant them, we put sprinklers out here just so they can get some root structure and get the whole bed wet. It's all a dry chicken manure-based fertilizer, and it's all injected in the bed when the plants are much smaller. We do a pre-plant, and then we do 2 what they call side dresses, where they'll run it alongside the plant on both sides so the roots will pick it up. And we'll irrigate these this time of year once a week, but it's all, like I said, it's all on drip. And if it rains ever, then we can back off a little bit on that. But yeah, the fertilizing is done. It's really just watering and harvest at this point. You'll get one, what they call the crown one first, and then, you know, a week or 2 later, you'll probably cut a couple of these, and then a couple weeks later, it'll be these 2. And these will still get a little bit bigger as they go into spring and the days get longer and it's still not hot. They'll get a little bit bigger. It'll get better production. This first cut won't be much. The second cut will be about the same, but then it'll start being multiple, actually, artichokes on each plant. So then the production will go up quite a bit. It would be great if we could go to the end of May, if the weather cooperates. If we get a heat spell, you know, or it gets a little warm, we might have to quit 15th of May. So the production will be low, you know, the end of December, January, but once we get into the middle of February and the days start getting a little bit longer, then it really peaks, you know, and probably last part of February and March will be real good production. That's probably the minimum size that we would cut, and anything else we'd wait a week on and just you know, let it mature a little bit more. And that's almost a little bit over mature, but we would probably still cut that. But yeah, that gives you an idea of the size difference. I had my own farm, yeah. We certified our first organic ground, put it in transition in '89. I got a little tired of the corporate structure and wanted to do something a little bit smaller, a little bit closer to home. Sam had worked at a farm in Texas. Nick had worked for a farm over in the San Joaquin Valley, and we kind of started talking about this and thought, you know, maybe Santa Clara is the spot to be. Nick takes care of more of the mechanics and building new equipment and keeping the cooler going and that kind of thing, and Sam works a lot on the CSA, on the farmer's market, more the marketing side, and working at the shed too. They really thought this would be the right area market-wise, and I got to agree with them. I mean, that it is, you know, it was, the population is here, the climate is here so that we can do a lot of things year-round or do something year-round.
Although you may not think of the Bay Area as farm country, Santa Clara County has been an agricultural hub since the mid-1800s. Vegetables, fruits, and nuts from Santa Clara County were exported all over the globe, and the area became the largest producer of vegetable and flower seeds in the world. By 1939, fruit and nut packaging plants and canneries sprang up around San Jose to fully utilize the agricultural products coming out of the region. But by the end of World War II, Santa Clara County began converting its agricultural land to suburbs. Today, Santa Clara County is part of the area known as Silicon Valley, a reference to the technology industry that steered the area away from its agricultural past and towards an urban future. This is all well and good for urban residents, but makes things very difficult for those trying to carry on the area's agricultural traditions.
It's been very hard to find ground. It took us a couple years. We farmed a little piece in San Benito County the first year because that's all we could find. And then we went to the property over at the airport, and then we've been here, I guess, going on 3 years. But it's very hard to find ground that somebody doesn't want to sell for development, that has water, that's just desirable to farm. There's limited infrastructure here, and that's why it's been real important. We kind of are self-sufficient. We can't just go to a cooler and rent space because there really isn't one. So we've had to, you know, have our own cooler, manage that, and any post-harvest stuff, you know, just is not available here. And labor's a big factor too. It's hard to get labor here for harvest, for, you know, anything. So Those are the challenges, I guess, here versus, say, the Salinas Valley or Watsonville. Farm labor housing is a big deal. Sam's worked a little bit on that, but it's tough here because everything's so expensive.
Land access and land development makes it really challenging for farmers. What happened with this other property was, although it's not actually under direct threat of development, our landlords sold another property to get developed that they had some storage items on that had to get moved over to our property, and we kind of got, it just kicked off. So learning to adapt and be flexible with that has been a challenge. Trying to find more land to grow is super challenging as well too. When we started, we wanted to start kind of like a mid-sized farm that, 10 to maybe 40 acres. And we thought, oh, that's great. We're not super small, we're not big. That'd be easy to find a property that would kind of fit with us, and ended up being a lot more challenging, and still is challenging to this day than we thought it would be. Obviously, being so close to an urban area, we're closer to our market, we're closer to our customers, we're able to have more access to that, which is important. My biggest pride in it is being able to feed and serve my local community, which feels really good. It's challenging because land here is more expensive too. We don't have the infrastructure, the resources that they might have. There's not the labor force or the greenhouses or the supporting industries around ag that we see in the Salinas Valley.
Despite all of these challenges, Spade & Plow is still going strong. Part of their success can be credited to their CSA program. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and you can think of it like a magazine subscription. Customers pay ahead of time and receive a weekly supply of fruits and vegetables delivered to their doorstep. Not only is this a convenient way to get your groceries, it also helps support small farms like Spade & Plow that need a steady source of income even in the slower winter months. The CSA program allows farms to utilize all of their produce and reduce waste, and also teaches customers to truly appreciate the seasonality of their favorite fruits and veggies. Let's learn a little bit more about Spade & Plow's CSA setup.
My name is Alejandro Acosta. I'm the CSA lead here at Spade Plow Organics. We're right here in San Martin. I think we've been here, we're going strong for 5 years? Well, I've been here for about a year and a half. I got into farming through Vegilution, which is a community farm in East San Jose. And there I was first exposed to the ins and outs of farming. And there I heard about Spade & Plow, and at one point there was a job opening, and I took it for delivery here. Kind of worked my way up to CSA lead. I've been here since. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. It's a program that supports the local farmers in a community in a way where the farmer is able to provide a direct product. There are different models for the program. Our particular model is a collaborative program with local farms and other businesses in which we grow a significant portion of what we offer and also offer those products from other community members. It's built on the idea that the community is stronger and sturdier through a more robust local food system. Seasonally, we're going to have a lot of the same consistent product available, but our diversity in product and our partnership with other farms enables us to do that, to change it up, to offer new product or something that people haven't really heard of, and it gives them the opportunity to learn and cook in new different ways. And it kind of keeps it fresh for us too. We're seeing different things, and it sort of challenges our creativity as far as creating a menu where it's a cohesive menu where you can integrate all the or most of the product we have.
Sometimes we have CSA customers that are farmers market customers too, or sometimes we have customers that maybe start off as farmers market customers and then become CSA customers exclusively. But I think they're a different type of customer. I think there's a customer that wants the convenience of getting a box delivered or picking up at a pickup location. And then I think there's the customer that really likes going to the market and picking out their own product and talking to the farmers and working with different vendors as well. I think they're two different types of customers, but I think more people are warming up to the CSA model too. With COVID, of course, people are just trying to be a little bit more safe. Being more comfortable with getting food delivered to their home is still kind of a new concept, something that's really only 15 years old or 20 years old. So people are still warming up to the idea, but this year has shown that people are more comfortable with that now than ever, and I think that's only going to increase. But that doesn't mean I think the farmers markets will always be there too. there's something special about a farmer's market and going and really meeting the farmers and getting to know them and creating that relationship where we have farmers market customers that have been with us since the beginning, and we've been able to get to know them and see their families and see them start families and see their families grow, and that's really special too. I think the secret to our success is making sure that we're growing commodities that can fit in all 3 outlets so that they have a home somewhere, and that's been really valuable. So we can, maybe some of our baby greens will go to wholesale, we might make a little bit less margin there, but then a lot of them go to the farmers markets, and they kind of help balance each other out and help us move the volume and find a home for every case or every bag that's going out. But there's definitely items that tend to do better at like farmers market compared to the CSA program, or some that certain chefs are looking for, but maybe the price point doesn't quite work out for a restaurant as well. So one of those items is like the Salinas lettuce that we do. It's been a really great item for our farmers markets, and we tend to take a lot of cases there, and we'll sell through them all the time. And when we don't have them, we'll have a lot of customers asking about them. It's a smaller, denser head. And when we had it in the CSA program, it doesn't quite get the traction that we see at the farmers markets. I think because people can't see it and they don't know what it is. They're maybe not familiar with what a Salinas lettuce is. And the fact of like a mini head isn't as appealing in a description or a picture as it is when you see it in person. And when you see this lettuce, it's gorgeous. So I think people see it at market and they have the impulse and they try it out and they're able to take it home. And they take it home and realize like, wow, it is a really good lettuce. It's really tender, it's got a lot of flavor. And it almost takes the customer actually seeing it in person to have the impulse and try it out. So being able to showcase items like visually and how we display them at market is a huge part of that. But in finding the right fit for every commodity. So I think every commodity has the right outlet for it too.
For small farms, attention to detail is key. When faced with challenges like theirs, the farm crew at Spade & Plow plans very carefully to make sure that they operate as efficiently as possible. From marketing strategies to growing schedules, Spade & Plow has developed a focused approach to growing a wide variety of fruits and vegetables.
With the one property, we've been able to just have a little bit tighter turnover. Even though we're a little bit more restricted on the ground, we've been able to just turn over the ground faster, and once we're done harvesting it, mulch that commodity in, and then get the next crop in. Being on one property has really helped it a lot. Paying a little bit more attention to all the items. Like we can get really quick turnover on them, and we can see the revenue on them through the winter time as well. So that's been something that we've been kind of dedicating a little bit more ground to. Some of the items like cauliflowers and cabbage, we've had to kind of nix because we know we don't have enough room. We're able to see like a little bit more dollars per acre per week on the baby greens than the cauliflower and cabbage. But the diversity is key from just from a crop rotation perspective, but also from a marketing perspective. When we go to market, we want to have a lot of different items for the customers to shop. From a certified organic perspective too, we're able to have the crop rotation, offer a different ecosystem for different habitats too. So it helps with the overall picture of growing certified organically, but also growing sustainably too. Trying out new items though is a very like long-term prospect for sure. Doing the research on it, figuring out, ordering the seed, getting it to the greenhouse, getting the transplant. Sometimes you're looking at like 8 months sometimes before you can actually see the results of that. Just from what we learned, the longer we can plan out, if I could say, oh, let's do that next year and get on the schedule for like next winter, we're gonna have more success in trying to rush it and get it in this year and trying to figure out. So planning and long-term planning is like critical for success with any farming operation. We'll put together a planting schedule every year. So I like to kind of have that finalized by October for the whole next year. So our 2021 planting schedule is all set. And now it's just like going in and making sure we got all the seed in, our transplant orders are correct, and making sure we have space for everything. And then we're taking notes along the way too. So that's absolutely key for like improving every year. So setting up a planting schedule that we can keep consistent notes and making sure that we're improving next year. Last year when we were harvesting tomatoes, we were taking notes as far as like, oh, what are the customers responding to? Which ones do we like? Which ones are producing well? And then so we can make those changes for the next year too. Because with so much going on, we kind of have to make those notes in the moment. If we try to get to next year's tomato season and see, oh, what did well, what wasn't, we'd make a lot of mistakes because because there's so many commodities to manage and so many different outlets to manage. We're trying to take as detailed notes as we can so we can make improvements ahead of time. I think just educating the customer at the market or in the CSA program, the seasonality of different ones too. It's not here forever, and there's a reason why it does taste so good is because it is seasonal and we're growing it at the prime time as well. If we plant a larger planting every 4 weeks instead of planting a smaller planting every week, because that's a little bit more affordable way for us to do it. Because we can't move 10 acres of purple cauliflower at farmers markets and CSA, so we can't really afford to go out there and plant 500 plants. And to make it work, we have to go out there and plant 2,000 plants, but we just can't move that much every single week. So just working with small farmers is a little bit different, and just making sure people are flexible and they understand that those are the challenges that we're seeing too.
Farming isn't an easy job. There are long days spent working in the hot sun, and there are long nights spent hoping for luck to be on your side. But for many farmers like Sam Thorpe, the hard work pays off when they deliver fresh produce to customers in their community. Luckily for Spade & Plow, there is a growing interest in supporting local farms and farmers. Let's hear what Sam has to say about the importance of a local food system.
Farms are just so important for local communities because they, one, provide food, they steward the land, they help promote a diverse economy and a diverse workforce, and just the more that we can promote local ag, the better off everyone will be. And it's challenging work, and I think a lot of people understand that, but it's very like skilled work. I don't think people quite understand that sometimes or appreciate it, where everyone on our farm and every single team member works really hard, but they're also like very knowledgeable and very skilled in their field, and everything from harvest to weeding to sales to packing to delivery. It takes a lot of focus, and when people shop and they spend money locally, it goes to supporting that.
Well, that just about sums up artichokes, baby greens, and cauliflower, as well as our adventure here at Spade & Plow. We hope you learned some interesting things, and more importantly, we hope you had fun. Join us next time when we take a closer look at citrus from Hamlow Ranches.